imposibles. Esto es lo que yo llamo un goulash. ¿Dónde está la munición? Deberíamos buscar los fusibles.
Gracias, Francisco. Agradezco muchísimo su tiempo en la línea.
Gracias a usted.
Muchísimas gracias por su paciencia. Mire, Francisco, me está comentando mi compañera del departamento de Port que hay un atraso en la respuesta del proveedor, en este caso de TrackPhone.
Sí.
Ellos ahorita no han contestado absolutamente nada, ni si está bien la información, si está mal la información, nada. Entonces aquí lo que me comenta el departamento de Port es que usted no tiene que marcar para acá, para Verizon. Verizon se va a poner en contacto con usted.
Sí.
Si es que hay, cuando haya una respuesta de parte del proveedor.
Excelente.
Ajá. Ahorita ellos ya habían metido la información, nada más que básicamente lo que el departamento de Port de Verizon nos dice es que puede tardar hasta 48 horas el port, porque todavía la otra empresa no nos ha dado respuesta. Ellos, ya me dijo mi compañera que ellos se van a poner en contacto con usted en caso de necesitar cualquier otra información. Y también para hacerles saber finalmente que ya quedó listo su port.
Muchísimas gracias.
No, de que Francisco, entonces ahorita pues no queda nada más que esperar, tener un poquito de paciencia, porque pues sí, allá todavía no contestan. Necesitamos que ellos liberen la línea, que ellos contesten y liberen la línea.
Excelente, excelente. Muchas gracias, Tania.
No, de que Francisco, dígame, ¿hay algo más en lo que pueda yo apoyarlo el día de hoy?
Sí, eso sería todo.
De acuerdo, lo invito, Francisco, ya que es parte nueva de parte de la familia Verizon, que descargue su aplicación, o si no la quiere descargar en su teléfono, se registre en la página web, en verizon.com o My Verizon App. Registre su servicio con su número de teléfono, el PIN de 4 dígitos que usted puso en su cuenta. Ahí puede ver todo lo relacionado obviamente a su servicio, a su cuenta, el saldo, cuándo hay que pagar, cuánto se debe, el plan de servicios, etcétera, ¿no? Además de ver qué es lo que Verizon ofrece para usted.
Excelente, excelente, buenísimo, me sirve la información. Ahora me hago la aplicación. Última cosita que me estoy acordando. ¿Es posible de configurar con usted el AutoPay?
También lo tiene que hacer por la aplicación. Sí tenemos el servicio de AutoPay. Usted tiene que entrar igualmente a la aplicación. Nosotros obviamente no podemos recibir datos bancarios. Entonces tiene usted que entrar a la aplicación, y hay un apartado que dice, si está en inglés, Manage Payment Method. O ahí en español le dice, generalmente lo veo en inglés, pero es lo que son los métodos de pago.
Excelente, excelente.
Y entonces,
yo, porque lo intenté.
¿Usted ahí?
Sí. No, porque...
¿Dónde lo intentó?
Perdón que le interrumpa. Lo intenté con la aplicación en su momento y no fue exitoso. Pero bueno, lo sigo intentando por ahí. De última hablo con el chat. O con el chatbot.
Sí, si no, también tenemos un servicio, es el IVR, que este es el sistema automatizado en el teléfono.
Claro.
El que ya sabe, si usted gusta, marque 1, si usted gusta, marque 2.
Claro.
Bueno, ahí también en el asterisco 611, ahí usted llama, la máquina le va a contestar. Igualmente le va a decir que si se quiere usted enrolar en lo que es el pago automático, le va a dar la opción y le va a pedir los datos bancarios, y usted se puede enrolar igualmente por ese medio en autopago.
Perfecto, perfecto, perfecto. Bueno, muchísimas gracias por la información. Eso sería todo.
De acuerdo, Francisco, pues muchísimas gracias y bienvenido a la familia Verizon. Que tenga usted un excelente día y estése pendiente de la llamada del departamento de Port para que le den información acerca de su porteo.
Muchísimas gracias. Que tenga buen día.
Usted también, bonita tarde.
Bye bye.
Que esté.
¡Qué final tan infeliz!
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPad learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Hello, everybody. So I had the opportunity today to speak once again to Miranda Devine. Now, you may remember and you may not that I spoke to Miranda about her last book, Laptop from Hell. She has a new one called The Big Guy, which continues her documentation of the Biden family and deep state saga. Miranda is a journalist for the New York Post, and she broke the laptop story, which was very rapidly dismissed as Russian misinformation by a cabal of ex-intelligence agents and operatives, and was also suppressed on Twitter and Facebook and other venues. And Miranda has continued her work investigating the machinations of the deep state in her new book, The Big Guy, and so that's what we talk about today. That and Trump derangement syndrome, and the role of the legacy media, transforming the role of the legacy media, the role of the New York Post in being an advocate for center-right, genuine journalism. So join us for that. So Miranda, we spoke about a year ago. I think I released our first podcast on the 4th of October, and that was Laptop from Hell, which, was a catchy title. And I thought, after delving into your book and through the associated material online, that was a pretty appropriate title. It tells an appalling story, all things considered, and one that hasn't produced nearly as much scandal as it should have, especially given the intelligence community's insistence, that infamous document of 51 signatories claiming that was Russian disinformation. I really thought that was the crookedest political move that I've seen in the American landscape in my entire life. That was appalling. And now you have a new book, The Big Guy. And so I thought it'd be real interesting to have you walk us through that. The first thing I'd like to ask maybe is, obviously Biden has been sided, and we could talk about that in some detail, because what the hell? And so viewers might be interested first in, why should we bother with this? Because he's now a bit player in a defunct drama. And so why don't you start with that, and then let's move into the book per se.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. Look, it's important because the very same people, that sort of unaccountable cabal of the intelligence community, the CIA, the FBI, the State Department, and so on, that have protected Joe Biden for so long and his family from the consequences of their greed, are the same people who are propping up Kamala Harris now. And you see that because there is an overlap between the signatories of that Dirty 51 letter that you just mentioned from the former intelligence officials, falsely claiming that the laptop was a Russian disinformation operation. There's about 9 of them who also signed onto a letter claiming that Kamala Harris was the most capable and serious contender for Commander-in-Chief.
So let's talk about some of the markers of success: money, fame, power. Fame in and of itself is not a bad marker for success. Not everyone who's famous is useful, and not everyone who isn't famous is useless. Why is there a small percentage of hyper-successful men who are willing to sacrifice everything in pursuit of that success? Because, like, if you intervene at the right time, you don't need to use power. Success is not a place to get to and stay. It also integrates the idea of the journey and the idea of the destination. And so there, now you have a definition of success.
We have a big election coming, and there's a lot at stake. But here's something to consider. Regardless of who's sitting in the White House or in Congress, the fuse on the economy has already been lit. 4 years of a conservative presidency won't be enough to turn the tide on our $35 trillion in national debt. And if the left wins, well, it's like throwing gas on a dumpster fire. Now, you don't have much control over the election's outcome, but you can protect your savings by diversifying now into gold with help from my friends at Birch Gold. That's right. For millennia, gold has stood firm in the face of greedy governments, economic upheavals, and it can protect you now. Birch Gold will help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. And the best news is it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. Think about this. In the past 4 years, the buying power of the US dollar has declined, while the price of gold has increased 40%. Coincidence? I think not. Here's what you need to do. Text Jordan to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold, then diversify. As the exclusive gold partner of the Daily Wire for the past 8 years, you can trust Birch Gold. Don't let economic uncertainty threaten your financial future. Take action now with Birch Gold. Text Jordan to the number 989898 for your free info kit today. That's Jordan to the number 989898 today.
Okay, so what do you make of this, and why should we inform ourselves about the extent of the Biden family's misdoing? Like, once he's out of office, his family is off the national and international stage. We're going to turn our attention either to a Harris presidency, God preserve us, or to a Trump presidency, which will be devastatingly interesting. Let's put it that way. So tell us about those signatories, those additional 9. Tell us what you make of the shadowy figures, so to speak. Always sounds like a right-wing conspiracy, doesn't it, that surround the Biden presidency and that would be influential with regards to Harris presidency. Tell us what you make of that and what you've discovered.
Well, the biggest story, I think, just like in Watergate, is the story of the cover-up and who's behind it. And I think the best way of seeing who they are and what their agenda is to look at the comparative presidencies, and particularly in foreign policy, of Joe Biden and Donald Trump and even Barack Obama. I think the agenda of this cabal, what the Obama people used to call the blob, which was the CIA, the Pentagon, and the State Department, what Donald Trump calls the deep state. These people view Donald Trump as an existential threat, not to America or democracy, as we're always told, but to them and their power and control over the presidency, which they have enjoyed for a long time. Certainly you can see it in their foreign policy agenda that was run by Obama and Biden. When Donald Trump came in, he, just as a property developer from Queens, approached every problem that way, from first principles, using logic and common sense. And so he did the same with foreign policy. He saw a problem. What's the most effective and efficient way of dealing with it? And for example, when he first arrived in the White House, he had a meeting with Barack Obama, who told him the biggest problem facing the United States is North Korea, because they keep on setting off these sort of nuclear tests. And so Donald Trump set about fixing that, and he was mocked mercilessly for his bromance with Kim Jong-un and for calling him Little Rocket Man and so on. But it worked. He successfully charmed or threatened Kim Jong-un, and Kim Jong-un was in his box. Similarly with Vladimir Putin. You didn't see Putin invading his neighbors like he did under Obama and like he did under Biden immediately. With Donald Trump, he was also in his box, and Trump it was sort of belligerent and charming at the same time with Putin. And he tells the story of saying to Putin something along the lines of, I like those golden domes in Moscow, shame if something happened to them. And Putin and the other gangsters around the world, like President Xi, weren't quite sure what to make of Trump. He wielded, obviously, the mightiest military in the world. And was he crazy enough, unpredictable as he seemed, to actually follow through on his threats? And he did he talks about peace through strength, but he was not afraid to use strength. He wiped out Soleimani, the Iranian tough guy. Iran, for instance, was on its knees under Trump. They were broke. They weren't able to fund these proxies to go and attack Israel like they did last October 7. Of course, as soon as Joe Biden came in, they enriched Iran, reanimated the Iran nuclear deal that Donald Trump had wisely kiboshed. They're off to the races. So Trump managed to neutralize Iran. ISIS was a huge problem. People forget, but we saw these horrific videos of ISIS, burning alive a Jordanian pilot in an orange jumpsuit in a cage, killing other people in these most horrific torturing ways for public consumption, lowering a cage into a swimming pool with, I think, 2 Jordanians in it, beheading Americans, just horrible. And Donald Trump vanquished ISIS, never got much credit for it because we all forgot that ISIS ever existed. In the Middle East, he had the glimmerings of peace that had eluded so many presidents before him with the Abraham Accords, for which he never really got much credit either. So just in this practical, no-nonsense way, he did better on the world stage than his predecessors and Joe Biden. But that earned him the enmity of this cabal because he was not following their agenda. And that's because Donald Trump is uncontrollable. And that's his great strength. And maybe his weakness as well. He's always been uncontrollable. Even as a child, he talks about, he calls himself rambunctious and says that his parents at one point sent him to aptitude testing to, in his words, find out what's wrong with him. And his father was quite disappointed with the results. And
well, he's very assertive. He's a very assertive person. He's very extroverted, and he's very high in openness, and he's somewhat disagreeable. And so he's going to be a handful as a kid because all of that means headstrong, highly active, and that can be bad and that can be good. It depends on how well it's socialized. And my sense with Trump is that he's relatively compassionate despite his low politeness, and he also has a pretty vicious work ethic, and so those are useful traits. So this cabal that you're describing, why don't you walk us through the makeup of that and also the motivations? Who is it, and what are their motivations? Well, I know, for example, that the people who formulated the Abraham Accords faced an awful lot of, well, certainly skepticism and perhaps outright resistance from the State Department, because the received wisdom at the State Department was, well, first of all, that such an agreement was impossible, and second of all, that it was particularly impossible if it didn't include Palestine, because Palestine had to be first and foremost in any peace agreement, and that just turned out to be complete bloody nonsense. And so, okay, so the cabal, who is it? And then what is it that you think they're protecting or attempting to accomplish for themselves? I'm very curious, for example, about your understanding of the Russia-Ukraine war, because there's untold tens of billions of dollars being dumped into that state, and anyone with any sense understands, at minimum, regardless of their stance with regard to the war, that Ukraine was one of the most corrupt states in Europe, which is really saying something, because there was plenty of corruption there. And God only knows where that money is going, seriously. And so let's walk through the cabal. You mentioned actors in a general sense, the CIA, the Pentagon, perhaps the FBI. Who are these people, and what is it that they want?
That's a great question, and I never have got to the bottom of it. I just have a vague sense. Just pulling back, for instance, the way that they have expended so much energy in demonizing Russia, and while taking their eyes off China, at least the public eyes off China. I can only think that, considering that Russia is a tiny GDP, is really not a threat to the United States, whereas China is, and is aggressively imperialistic in its actions, and that the Bidens were in fact part of the Belt and Road Initiative, which is President Xi's imperialist plan to, I guess, take over the world, or at least to ensnare small countries in debt traps and plunder their minerals, and extend his influence, and as he's doing aggressively in the South China Sea, militarizing those islands. Joe Biden, as vice president, was actually supposedly meant to stop that and stop China from stealing America's intellectual property. And instead, when he went to Beijing in December of 2013, he brought along his son Hunter, and the Chinese knew exactly what that was about. He's there to do private business, and none of the aims that Joe Biden should have had on behalf of America were accomplished, but Hunter Biden certainly made money out of that trip. So he was given 10% of a Chinese company. So I feel that there is reason that they don't want the American people to be focused on China as a threat, which it is. So when I say the cabal, the blob, the CIA, the Pentagon, the FBI, the Department of State, the Department of Justice, and in the Hunter Biden investigation case, the IRS, were all involved in the protection of Joe Biden, but I think also in the grooming of Joe Biden very early on when he...
Good morning, this is Angie. I'm calling on... Your call may be recorded for call quality assurance purposes. Thank you for calling the Maui Wildfire Helpline.
Thank you for calling. My name is Indigo. May I help you?
Hey sir, how are you? I'm Francisco. I'm calling in regards to Maui wildfire claim.
Okay, what is your first and last name?
My first name is Francisco, last name Ortiz Pellegrini.
How do you spell your last name?
Ortiz is O-R-T-I-Z. Pellegrini is P-E-L-L-E-G-R-I-N-I.
Okay, 1 second here. It's still searching.
No has. I have received a few calls last weeks, so I'm called you back. Is for the second questionnaire. A second questionnaire about that claim.
Ahora podemos seguir luchando. Te falta concentración.
I'm not seeing a case file for you, but I'm gonna go ahead and transfer you directly to the line that takes care of the Maui welfare cases.
Alright,
Give me one.
thank you.
Sentirás el
Of course.
poder en mis venas. Vete con tus antepasados.
Hello, my name is Tina. We are on a recorded line. How may I help today?
Hi there. I'm Francisco. I'm calling for the second questionnaire for the regards the Maui wildfire claim.
Oh, I can definitely help with that, Francisco. Let me get your information pulled up here.
Okay,
And your last name?
my last name is Ortiz Pellegrini.
And may I also get your date of birth, please?
6th of June, 95.
Perfect, thank you. Let me get you pulled up here.
Yeah, of course.
And your information is opening up for me now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm showing a primary phone number of 970-763-4307. Is that still a good phone number for you?
I have a provisionary, another number. That is a good one, but not these days. I can give you my ex number that I have right now.
Okay, that'd be perfect. I'll put it as an alternate number.
Oh yes.
And I'm ready.
Let me 970 401 1988.
Perfect. And for your email, Ortiz Pellegrini Francisco @gmail.com.
Still a good one, yes.
And are you still on WAINE''E Street in Lahaina?
I was there, yes. I'm not there, but yeah, I was that was my address.
What is your current address?
My current address is 217 West Beaver Creek, Avon, that is the city, Colorado.
And may I verify, is Beaver Creek 2 words?
West Beaver Creek.
So is that west and then Beaver and then the third word Creek?
Yes. Oh, West Beaver Creek Boulevard.
Oh, perfect. Let me add that. And may I get the zip code one more time?
What is that? Sorry.
The zip code one more time?
Oh, yeah, 81620.
Thank you.
La
Yes.
venganza no necesita munición.
And you said that's in Avon, Colorado?
Avon.
Well, thank you for giving us a call back so we can get that questionnaire completed.
Yes.
All right, so it does look like there's just been some additional questions that were answered.
Yes.
I'll just review really quickly the information that we have.
Nos ayudan.
You're filing the claim on behalf of yourself as an individual.
Yes.
And your social, 329-841572.
Mm-hmm.
You have not been a debtor in a bankruptcy, and you learned about the fires approaching Lahaina or your home around 1 o'clock when you were watching from your house.
Yes.
And you could actually see the fires getting close.
Yes.
And you left your house around 12.
That's correct.
And you did flee the fire. You did see people that were injured or deceased during the evacuation. I'm so sorry you had to see that.
No problem. Yeah.
And you did not receive an evacuation notice.
No.
And you were injured during the evacuation?
No.
Oh, you were not? Okay. Did you evacuate?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
And did you lose any family members in the fire?
No. Luckily.
That's good. Yes, luckily. And you started evacuating between 4:30 and 5?
Yes, between 4 and 5.
Okay. You did not evacuate with any loved ones. You got into your car and got on Front Street. There was lots of smoke and fire. And people screaming from the ocean. You really went through a lot. You couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And Lahaina was packed with cars.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, you weren't able to take anything.
No. No. Just my phone. Yeah, and some IDs.
Now this one, it looks like it was answered yes. Let me double check this one. Were you injured during the evacuation?
Muere, bestia
No,
maligna.
not really, no.
Okay. Did you have to be hospitalized for any injury at all?
I was like that night I was in a place and there was where they were doctors there, and yeah, I was not really injured, but they were there searching for something like mentally, because we were pretty anxious. Just that.
Of course. Now, did you have any injury that required hospitalization?
Oh, no.
And you were able to take your phone, wallet, hard drives, backpack with some clothes?
Mm-hmm.
And you left Lahaina and went to Kihei.
Yes.
Okay. Into a parking lot at Walmart and spent the night there?
Yes.
Okay. Were you displaced by the fire?
What is that? Sorry.
Were you displaced by the fire?
Yeah.
Se caen del árbol.
And for how many months were you displaced, or is it still ongoing?
No.
And how many months were you displaced?
So for 3 months.
Atormentada.
Return 3 months later.
Camino de la virtud está lleno de
And you're
regalos.
alleging damages for the Lahaina fire, is that correct?
Yes.
And I do see we have that address of 628 WAINE apostrophe E Street, Unit 5.
That's correct.
Let me.
That's correct.
That's Lahaina 96761. We have the parcel number. And what type of a property was that? Was it a home, a condo, an apartment, a commercial building?
Condos.
And you rented, is that correct?
Rented, yeah.
Was the primary structure's damage level, was it destroyed? Was there fire damage but it wasn't destroyed? Was there soot and ash damage only?
The damage was complete on the property.
The property was destroyed, is that what you mean?
Yes, that was the question?
Yep.
Oh.
Was the primary structure's damage level, was it destroyed?
Yes.
Or did it only have fire damage but not destroyed?
No. Everything destroyed. It's made by wood, so everything was burned out.
I'm so sorry you went through that.
Yeah, no, thank you for kindness.
And was that your primary residence, or was it like a secondary residence? Were you a landlord there?
So the landlord lives there. Not really lives there, but he has the office there.
And for you, was it your primary residence?
Yes.
What was the square footage of the primary structure into the total habitable structure square footage, including Ohana structures?
So what does mean? Ohana structures.
They're just asking for the total square footage
Oh.
of the primary structure.
Oh yes. Probably a square, pretty small, like an apartment. I can say like 30 feet square.
And have you suffered any business income loss, not including lost rental income at this property? Did you have any business income loss at that property?
No.
Did you suffer from any lost rental income at this property? Did you rent to anybody that you were able to collect rent from?
So no.
And I am seeing that you didn't have renter's insurance, is that correct?
That's correct. No rental insurance.
And was there fire damage or agricultural and or landscaping at this property? Was there any fire damage to agricultural or landscaping?
So yeah, we can say that has a landscaping there, and that suffered from fires.
And did you suffer damage to personal property beyond soot and ash? Personal property includes furniture, clothing, and household items. Were your personal property, was it damaged or destroyed?
Yes. Personal, yes. Objects like furniture, yes. TV, a table. Not too much, but have.
So like your clothes and stuff? Did you lose clothes and?
Exactly, a computer, a laptop. Sorry, laptop. Surfboards. Sport equipment. Yes.
Did you own any livestock at the address? Like chickens or goats or anything?
Say that again.
Did you have any livestock at the address?
Oh no.
Like chickens or goats? Okay.
No.
And you said it was a residential, not a business?
Residential, yes.
And that your personal property lost value as well as you had to replace things, is that correct?
Yes.
And you lost the benefit of your personal property at that address. Is that also correct?
Mm-hmm.
May I verify you did not lose any vehicles, or you didn't have any vehicles that were damaged or destroyed? Is that correct?
Correct.
Are you claiming lost wages or other employment-related damages?
No, not really. Is that what was the question again? Sorry.
No, it's okay. Are you claiming lost wages or other employment-related damages?
No.
And then you suffered, you couldn't sleep, suffered from stress.
Oh yeah. Yeah. After the couple months after that, I was moving. Yeah. So I suffered from some mental issues.
Oh, and definitely stress from having to start over.
Exactly. Yeah, very stressful.
So hard.
Yes. Stressful is the word. Very stressful.
And did you lose anything in the fire that was irreplaceable? Any family photos, antiques, family ashes, anything that you're not going to be able to replace? Like keepsakes, souvenirs, anything that's irreplaceable?
Let me think pretty quick. I mean, probably yes, but I can remember now.
And I'll put that. That's probably yes, but unable to think of anything right now.
Okay.
And Francisco, may I have your permission to save this?
Sí, yes.
So that it can be submitted back to the attorneys?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you.
I know you'd gone through that a little bit already, but they'd added some new questions.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be just a moment. My computer's just updating here.
Mm-hmm.
There it goes. And I'm going to send you a follow-up email.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll list some items. Most of them are not being requested right now. It's just to have them available if they're requested at a later date. However, would you be able to take a picture of your ID?
Yes.
And reply to the email and attach the picture? That would be fantastic.
Of course.
And I went ahead and I just sent that over.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I got it.
And if you could take a picture of your ID, and when you apply to the email, just attach it. That would be fantastic.
Oh, do you? Yes. I'm reaching for ID right now.
Oh, you're wonderful. Thank you.
just send it.
Awesome. Thank you. I think it just came through for me. It did. Perfect. That is fantastic. Thank you so much for doing that.
That works. Yep.
Yep, that looks perfect. It's totally legible. And is there anything else or any other questions you have for me at this time?
No, not so far.
You will be in touch if we have any additional questions. Again, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the patience.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good one.
Bye-bye. Thank you, you too. Bye.
Ay, qué rico está.
Came into the Senate at the age of 30 as a very green person without much foreign policy experience. He was really just a small-time grifter from Delaware, but a man on the make and very ambitious for himself. And so I think he's not hugely intelligent. So the fact that he was identified early on and placed on the most powerful committee in the Senate, which was the Foreign Relations Committee, where for a decade he was either chairman or ranking member, as his career evolved. I think that there were powerful mentors behind him who decided that, like maybe Tim Walz, that he was someone worth cultivating who would be a useful puppet for them in the future. And like Tim Walz, that very young Senator, Biden went to China. He was wined and dined there on the equivalent of Martha's Vineyard by the leading lights of the CCP, and came back just full of admiration and waxing lyrical about how wonderful China was, just as Tim Walz did, and to such an extent that the Weekly Standard thought that he was so foolish that they wrote a cover story about him, mocking him for being sort of the Manchurian candidate.
Attention men who still believe in the American dream. In a world gone mad, the Precision 5 from Jeremy's Razors stands as a beacon of sanity. 5 blades of superior engineering offer a shave as unshakable as your faith that the nation's best days still lie ahead. Experience an exceptionally smooth, remarkably close shave, and a testament to the fact that merit still matters. Stop giving your money to woke corporations that hate you. Get Jeremy's Razors Precision 5 instead. Available now at jeremy'srazors.com, walmart.com, and Amazon Prime.
So maybe it is that they want to make us look at Russia as the existential threat, which is preposterous, and forget that China is there, which makes me think that there is a substantial amount of money. Wall Street is involved in this cabal, that their interests are being served. And, RFK Jr. and others talk about the military-industrial complex and the money that they get out of pursuing these foreign wars. When it comes to Russia and Ukraine, the people that were protecting Joe Biden in this, the blob, they turned a blind eye to his corruption. He was, as vice president, flying into Kiev regularly and lecturing the Ukrainians on the evils of corruption. But the Ukrainian people knew that his son was sitting on the board of Burisma, the most corrupt company in the most corrupt country in Europe. And so his words obviously were hollow. Hunter Biden was being paid $1 million a year by this energy company, despite the fact that he was at the time had a raging crack addiction and didn't have any expertise in the energy field or really much else. So you know, that it seems that the quid pro quo for Joe to do the bidding of the blob, and he was very much a warmonger throughout his history in the Senate and the Foreign Relations Committee. He was you know, wanting to bomb Yugoslavia. He was always about enlarging NATO, having particularly Georgia and Ukraine join NATO, which was a deep provocation to the Russians. And you know, Vladimir Putin has been very explicit about the way Russia views that NATO enlargement as being a provocation to war. So Joe Biden was happy to go along with all these things, and I feel like the quid pro quo for him and his family was that they were allowed to get a little backsheesh along the way.
So do you have any sense of the extent of the Biden family wealth holdings? I mean, if I don't remember if I gathered this information from your book on the laptop, but perhaps I did. My understanding is that the Bidens have surrounded themselves with a very complex network of shell companies, and that much money from foreign business dealings has been shunted through those companies, and that involves extended members of the Biden family, most particularly, I guess this all centers at least to some degree on Hunter. And so what have you found out about the extent of the Biden family foreign holdings? And then I guess I'm also curious as to what either implicit or explicit laws have been violated in consequence of this additional financial activity. I mean, it was strange to me, of course, going through Laptop from Hell, to understand that Hunter Biden had come along with his father on his foreign affairs voyages. I thought that was strange for two reasons. First reason being, Hunter was not exactly behaving in an admirable manner at that point with regards to his personal habits, let's say, but so that was unwise for someone in the position of Joe to brook. If his son hadn't cleaned up his act personally and was all, you know, crack and hookers,